Are you ready?
Born ready
Okay.
tomorrow. Tomorrow. Born ready tomorrow. It's
Born
my
ready
birthday
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
It's like the statement from a procrastinator. I'll get to it
It's my
tomorrow.
birthday tomorrow.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Maybe we should make this about your birthday.
Definitely not. Shouldn't make it about my birthday, but
I have to text Aaron and be like, go get a cupcake.
35 it's a vibe. As of
Yeah.
tomorrow, I tip closer to 40.
Yeah. How we feel about that? Do we have feelings
You
about that?
know, I generally do not have feelings about that. If anything, it's positive. I feel like I've accomplished a lot within the last year for myself. Now, in contrast to our 90 whatever days to the end of the year, I don't know if I feel as good about that, but like from September to September, I feel great.
I just text Aaron
Back
to
to
get you
that
something for
day.
your birthday.
Why? Don't do that.
It's fine. You like cupcakes,
Um,
right? You're not an anti-cupcake person.
no,
Okay.
no,
Some
I'm
people are.
definitely
Some
not.
people don't like cupcakes.
I love cupcakes. I am a cheesecake girly.
Mm.
I love cheesecake, any kind. It doesn't matter. I also love ice cream cake.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
The
A
only thing I
Wisconsin
don't love
girly
about,
there.
yes, the only
All the
thing I don't
dairy.
love about ice cream cake is cutting it. I don't
Mm,
want to be the one to cut it. But yeah, I feel like I've accomplished a lot from September to September. It feels good.
good.
It feels good.
It has been a lot.
It's been a lot.
Yeah.
Started this, got an elevation in my 9 to 5, kept my kids alive,
Started running.
started running, which my foot is feeling much better, by the way.
Are we walk running this half marathon next week?
We're gonna see how like a true walk goes, like a brisk walk, because yesterday one of my children was like, he does this thing where he takes way too big a bite, so he's not like really choking, but he acts like he's choking. And I like sprung into action really fast, and then I was like, oh, that's still sore,
Hmm.
but it feels fine.
Mm.
Feels fine. I think. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see.
We can test it Monday or Tuesday, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to your
Yeah.
birthday. Sorry, I'm still on the birthday train. Wait. Before I continue on the birthday train, just want to welcome everyone to our podcast. This is Enneagram Adventure, Tana and I's podcast, where we talk about all things through the lens of the Enneagram. Today, obviously, kicking off about Tana's birthday, which is tomorrow. When this comes out, though, will be a couple days past her birthday. But still, if you listen to this, you should hit up all her socials, the Enneagram Adventure social, her personal socials, all the socials with happy birthday wishes, even though it's going to be slightly belated when this podcast goes live.
Which
Dan
is
and I
fine.
are also both certified coaches with the Enneagram. I should say that. We do have a little expertise with this tool, and we use the IEQ9 as the tool related to the Enneagram, the assessment. You got questions about that, you can hit us up. Okay, back to your birthday. Is your family doing anything great for your birthday?
No, it's a Monday. So like I feel like nothing's open either where we live. So we are probably just gonna chill. They might like do something special for me. Like I'm sure my oldest will be bringing me like Rice Krispie treats tomorrow in bed when I wake up, but nothing crazy. No, I think we'll just chill. My husband makes really good steak, so I might have him make me like a fancy slice of meat or something. And we'll probably watch Monday Night Football, and I'll be in bed by 9.
Sounds perfect. Sounds perfect.
I've done like fun things for my birthday, but I feel like I use my birthday as an excuse to like get a break and like go do something fun with other adults, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it gives me a license because it's my birthday, so it's fine to take a break.
I that's like the one time I have like a real party is for my birthday. Like
Oh,
for real, for
fun.
real.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. Or I want to go on a big trip. Like when I turned 40, we went to Joshua Tree,
Yes.
California. I
Yes.
think next year, I'll be 45 next year. We're talking about trying to figure out another California birthday trip.
That's
But
fun.
yeah, yeah.
I think we have our 10-year wedding anniversary in 2026. So I think we're gonna plan like a group trip to Jackson Hole.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it'll be like I keep getting served content for it now, like itineraries for
yeah,
it, and I like can't wait. There's like a
yeah.
rodeo. There's like I want to do like cowboy things.
I mean, I can help you with that without going to Wyoming. I got some friends. I could hook you up.
Perfect.
I no longer own all of the apparel, though. I went through like a massive purge where I was like, bootcut jeans, gone. Cowboy boots, gone. I held on to some of that shit for a long time, though.
I I just want to do I want to go somewhere that has like fun activities like that, and I there's a bunch of like hiking spots that you can go do and trails there, and they have like the cutest little like restaurants and coffee shops, and but I don't want to go when it's like crazy because what I've learned is like fall there is like kind of nuts. So we'll see around timing. I also don't want to go like in the middle of the summer because we got married in the winter, but we'll see.
Sedona's
We'll
also
see.
super cool and would have some of that same stuff. And you could go in the winter. Have you been
I
to
mean, we can do
Sedona?
both. Like I'll do Sedona like with just the two of us and I will sit in a spa all day.
There's tons of hiking around Sedona, though, too. It's
Yeah,
very cool.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'll get super sweaty hiking and then I'll get a 2-hour massage. Thank you.
Yeah. I can find you hiking anywhere. Whatever. I can also like sell you about how you can find all these things in Southern California. Like Temecula, California has like 1,000 horse, more than that. Hundreds of thousands of horses, probably.
Oh, wow.
There's nothing California doesn't have, folks, in case you were wondering. I'm a huge fan of California. It's fine. Anyway, we should actually talk about the Enneagram. We're like 10 minutes into this
We
podcast,
should.
and
We
we
should.
haven't,
Welcome.
yeah, okay.
Welcome. I haven't crashed out that I'm turning 35 yet. You're
No,
welcome.
it's perfect. 35 is great. I liked 35.
35 is great. I feel like I'm in my prime, Like these are the days I'll look back on and be like, "Oh, I missed that. That was so fun. I had so much energy." I feel like I'm in that stage with my kids too, where we're like not running around places all the time. So we still have like some moderately slow mornings.
I can't speak
Moderately.
to the kid thing, but I think from 35 to 43, I'll be 44 in December. I don't know that there's like a huge. It was in that time span that I took up this endurance sport thing as a hobby because we started giving up the horses when I was in my mid 30s. But the energy thing, I don't know that I feel a ton different from 35 to now.
It's good to know. It
Yeah.
makes me feel better. But yeah,
Yeah,
we're here to talk about the Enneagram,
we
and I'll
are.
crash out about my birthday later.
Yeah, nothing to crash out about.
We're going to talk conflict styles today. So, the three conflict styles, Holly, you're going to have to keep me honest for a little bit of this. Competency, reactive, and positive outlook are
Yep.
the three conflict styles. So, if you were to do, for example, Holly and I are, as she mentioned, IEQ 9 certified. This is something that would show up on your coaching companion that we read through. It would show up in your readout of your assessment. And it's something that we talk about a bit regularly when we talk
Yeah.
with other people about it because it matters for what you're going to show up like in some behaviors and some cues. I use it for cues more than anything.
I think, and I would tell you in the learning about these three conflict styles and the numbers and how it shows up for each person is important from the standpoint of it can create just a better working relationships. I don't mean just at work. I shouldn't say it that way. Better functioning relationships.
Firing on
It,
all cylinders.
yes. Yeah, like friendship, family, romantic, just and just like all things in the Enneagram, as you learn them, it kind of creates this empathy or understanding of not just yourself, but the people around you.
Yep.
The other thing about conflict styles, we're going to talk about them in terms of what is most typical in the Enneagram, but it is not a hard, fast rule, meaning just because you're a 5, for example, you might not necessarily be competency in your conflict style. There could be nuance there. And again, that's something that, like, either as you develop your own self-awareness, you can become aware of, or through the IEQ 9 coaching companion, we can see sort of as you answered the questions and took the assessment, what you have a higher tendency towards. The other thing I will just say, because I'm sure this will come up as we talk about it, is that just because you have a primary conflict style, it doesn't mean that you won't ever have experience or situations where you are in the other two, because it is a stack. And sometimes one style supports another in one way or another.
Yeah, I would also, I think an important distinction to make is like, we talk about stress lines a lot. So like when you think about conflict, it can go hand in hand with stress sometimes. So like for me as a 2, as an example, my conflict style is positive outlook, but an 8 is going to be a reactive conflict style. So it's in the IEQ 9 materials that I have sitting next to me. They talk about it as how a person copes when things aren't going their way or they don't get what they want. So as we think about this as it when it ties to like a stress line. So with me being a 2, having a positive outlook conflict style, and an 8 is my stress line having a reactive conflict style. I say the word earlier that I use it as a cue because it tends to be how I cope. Like that's a really good word. I think that's in these materials. Because what I find is with a positive outlook, I try to find like what's the positive intent or what's the root cause I'm trying to get to that's positive to get me there. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
don't always think about it as it relates to how you show up in stress. Like that doesn't necessarily coincide in
No.
what we talk about today.
And it can also show up in times where you're feeling super frustrated
Mhm.
as a way for you to work through whatever your frustrations are. Let's just give a really quick overview. Obviously, we've mentioned 5 and 2 in theirs, but I'm just going to do like a very quick, like around all the Enneagram numbers or as the triads, not like one at a time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so 7, 9, and 2 are positive outlook conflict style. 1, 3, and 5 are competency conflict style. And 4, 6, and 8 are reactive. And again, this is what is most typical. It's not always true. I know some 2s, for example, who happen to be highest in competency, which is not typical. But one of the things I will tell you, because this is an area where you can develop and you can grow. So I think there are some 2s who have learned to take on more competency style as they've grown, matured, things like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Is competency, would you say, more readily available to a 2, for example, because 1 and 3 are competency in their next 2? Or do you think that there's not real
I
correlation
mean, there could
between
be
that?
correlation there. I don't know that I've ever read anything that made that correlation, but I think I think, and as we talk about each of these types, maybe this will become more clear. I think competency is the easiest one
Mm-hmm.
to bring up, to like figure out how to like mold your style into competency. So I think that can be why, particularly in professional settings, you will find folks that lean heavily into that, because let's just talk about the competency, like what that means really quick. So competency style in a professional setting, most likely, not always, looks like backing something up with facts or data in terms of a conflict situation or an argument with a coworker. Maybe you disagree about a strategy or a direction or how you want the team to go or the next big project, right? And so someone who has a competency conflict style will go through that conflict in a like very factual, sometimes cold sort of way. This is the data that supports my argument. This is why we should do this based on fact, 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 right? And so that's going to be how they move through the conflict. This works a couple of ways, like, and it can be different in relationships where you're more secure, or it can be different with people who don't have as much self-awareness and are working on learning. But what I will say is that also for me, because being competency and I solidly am typical as a 5 in that, it can also show up for me in the how I like reason through, let's imagine like something didn't work out for me. I didn't get what I wanted for something. I don't have a great example off the top of my head, but something didn't work out. I didn't get what I wanted. I will also use that competency style to rationalize why I didn't get it, right? So it'll be like, well, fact, this XYZ wasn't completed, or fact, the timing was off, or whatever. And I'll use it to rationalize things. So it can show up like that for competency. It can also show up, and I believe we talked about this when we talked about 5s, or maybe when we touched on conflict styles in a different episode, but it can also show up like what I call the logic bully. And we have all experienced this person, but it's the person that must win the argument with their facts and does not allow things like other people's feelings or other people's sort of trying to put a positive spin on it to win the argument or shut the argument down. So if we use a really contentious topic like politics, a logic bully in a conflict like that would be like, fact, this person's voting record is blah, blah, blah. Fact that, right? And that would be like the counter argument to whatever someone else is saying. But it can come off as arrogant. There's a lot of things tied up in the logic bully side of competency that's really will not help you build relationships in any way, shape, or form, and kind of makes it look like you just have to be the winner of the argument.
Do you want to talk about specific numbers and how this could show up?
Well, I think the incompetency in particular, I would say for me, I've described how it shows up, right? It's very logical, very
Yeah.
list, very meticulous, or can be logic bully. I think I have experienced with 1s and 3s, so the other 2 numbers in the competency. I have also experienced a form of logic bully with them, a form that's like very black and white. But aside from that, I think 1s. So if we think about all 3 of these numbers, all 3 of these numbers are repressing their feelings in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And because 1s want to be seen as good, and it's to them, things like arguments and disagreements could make them look bad. They're covering, that's one of the reasons they're like covering with fact, right? Is it's black and white. It's fact. It's fact. But it's like they're still repressing the feeling of anger when that's coming up.
Right. I think I'm going to talk about each of these as we go through, like just for a quick second around, well, not everyone who listens to us are parents, but we have them. We all have them.
We all have them.
So with a 1 in this conflict style, because a lot of what we manage day to day as parents is conflict with your children or their behavior or whatever is going on, right? So with a 1 that's really rooted in like shoulds, in fairness and right and wrong, as we think about that, a challenge for the 1 parent or something to think about if you have a 1 parent is, what would it look like to be curious about imperfection? What's the worst thing that would happen if it weren't perfect? And for those people who are 1s and who are parents specifically, what's the worst that will happen if you just allow for the behavior or the feeling or the moment or the mistake to happen for the learning to come into play? But so much of what I manage with my kids every single day is like rooted in conflict. So I'm just going to like give a little flavor of this for each one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important too. We don't always think about it that way, but there is like this constant sort of back and forth with
Mm-hmm.
parents or if you're raising kids.
Yeah.
All right. So threes use the logic again to not deal with the feeling. They're setting aside the feeling, but they also use the logic because it's most efficient for them. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
quickest way to get to the end of the argument, the end of the conflict is through this competency logical style. And that they
Yeah.
want to be efficient. Threes want to be efficient.
I was just gonna say that is totally how it is from my second highest number being 3. I can relate to that. The example that I can give you is like when your kid is in that stage of like, I'm gonna do it myself. And you're like, oh my God, we're 5 minutes late. Like, for the love of God, can I just put on this freaking shoe for you? But the curiosity then needs to be like, okay, this is important. Like, they're learning, not just learning about like the act that they're doing itself and trying to do it themselves, but they're also learning like the boundary, right? For like, okay, when am I going to be able to do this and I get my way, and when don't I? I am by no means a parenting expert, but like if you have kids, you have been there, or if you don't, you remember being in that moment as a kid where you're like, no, I'm gonna do this myself, and it was so not efficient, right? But it's efficiency is the challenge for the 3 parent or the 3 that's learning about their, or that if you have a 3 parent, it's learning about that.
Yeah, for sure. I think yeah, the allowing things that are not efficient to happen is definitely a growth space just in general for threes. What if everything didn't
Emotions
have,
aren't,
or what if we didn't optimize our lives? Like, what if,
I mean, emotions are not efficient, and children are filled with them, by the way. So, like, through a parenting lens, it's like, I feel that so deep because it is not. And also, the big emotions never come when it's okay from a timing, from a how many people are around, from a they always come at an inopportune time.
yes.
That parent in a Target with my kid over my shoulder, like, we are so out of here, and that cart is in the aisle filled with crap, and I am out because I simply cannot. This is inefficient. This is taking too long. I'm embarrassed, like all the things.
Well, and if you're a three parent and the inefficient thing in that is coming up for you, right? But what you said there around the embarrassed, right? It's the also like, oof, we're hitting on like the
Yep.
shame, the what are people going to think of me, things like that are also can be big things for threes to need to work through. All right. I feel like we covered five based on what I shared. If we talk about actually, I'm not going to do reactive next. Let's do positive outlook next and save reactive for last.
Yeah.
But so
Okay.
positive outlook is the numbers 7, 9, and 2. It's very much exactly what it sounds like. And Tana even described a little bit about how it shows up in her too, right? But it's we have a conflict and we're going to reframe that to the most positive way we can see it as quickly as possible. And so sometimes in positive outlook, it can be glossing over the real issue because we just want to get through it quickly. And so maybe we don't address all the things that need to be addressed. It can
Yeah.
be fully ignoring it. Like it'll just go away by itself. If I just like believe it hard enough, it'll work itself out kind of thing. Or as I mentioned, the reframing, it can just be like the constantly like reframing it to try to find
Mm-hmm.
the silver lining or the whatever.
It's actually been very helpful for me and is part of the reason why I have so much work to do in the other conflict styles to be more balanced. Because for what I do for my 9 to 5 job, people often ask me advice about how to move through a conflict. Something I hear all the time is like, well, when you say it like that, it sounds fine. That's because we reframe the shit out of that. And it's
Yeah.
gonna be fine.
Right. And most of the time it is fine. What I will say about this, most of the time it is fine. Most of the time, no one's dying. Nothing bad is going to
Right.
happen. Right.
Right.
This is where other, as someone who's high in competency, I work to bring the positive outlook up. I bring it up to be like, what are the learnings from this
Yeah.
for myself? What are the learnings about the project? Whatever the thing is, right?
Yeah.
But where it gets not good is where it becomes avoidant. And
Oh,
that I
sure.
would say, I'm going to go a little out of order here. We'll talk about nines first. And that's a lot of where nines live is in the I'm just going to avoid it at all costs. How do I not have a conflict? And when the positive outlook goes from like the reframe or the looking for the good in others to avoidant,
Yeah.
that's where we stop taking in the things that need to be taken in. And I was listening to the psychiatrist today, and I cannot remember his name. He's been on a lot of podcasts, and he kind of talks about psychiatry and like ego death and like work like that he does. But he's trying to use like a lot of science to like prove some of these things that are considered like alternative to be like, no, this is why they really work from like a neuroscience, scientific method perspective. Anyway, point being, he was talking about this idea of red flags and how everything's really clear in hindsight. And the example he gave, the reason this ties into conflict style, was someone who's getting cheated on by their spouse, right? And in the moment, they're like, believing all the things that, oh, he's working late. Oh, she's going out with friends. Oh, right.
Yeah.
And then in hindsight, all of a sudden you can see this like pattern of like all of the things once it comes to light. This can be a thing that happens in avoidant conflict style though. We don't look deeper. We don't ask more questions. We just avoid. And then
Yeah.
when we look back on like the pattern of the whole situation, it could be this really big thing in our lives.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So my sister is a 9. That's how she's lived her life. It's like, it's fine. Everything's fine. It's all gonna be fine. But I am very proud of her from a parenting perspective. My niece, who I'm convinced is a 4, she's 8 years old. My sister never lets her just like be fine. It's like there's always a question, there's always a curiosity, there's always a significant amount of discomfort to allow her to have the feeling that she's having, which is like incredible for a 9 to be able to like zoom out and be like, that's what I wish I would have had when I
Yeah.
was having really big feelings. But I mean, credit to her because my niece she's got a lot of feelings. There's a lot. For someone who loves feelings, I get overwhelmed by that sometimes. And she like doesn't shy away from any of it whatsoever. Like she allows her to move through what she needs to move through. Like she'll try and help her rationalize and find a little bit of logic in all of it. But at the end of the day, like she's entitled to have whatever feeling she has. Just amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing.
So the reverse of that, right, in a parenting setting would be like, hey guys, like this really isn't that big of a deal. Like it's not that big of a deal. Why are we having a big feeling about this? Like let's not. It's fine. Everything's fine. We're fine, right? Like that's the other kid steals your kid's toy and your kid's not supposed to be pissed about it.
Right.
Like,
Right. Or your kid has a big feeling and you say, don't be so dramatic.
yeah, don't be so dramatic. Like this is not, yeah.
And I do think to the point of, I was thinking about this when you were talking about your kids earlier, but I was thinking about it also like from the standpoint of they are just like walking around. And if you think back to your own childhood, right, you're just walking around like a bucket full of all of these feelings. And it can be very dismissive and hard to come back from situations where adults are projecting onto you certain things
Mhm.
because they want you to be easy. It
Yep.
is to all the points you've already made. It's inconvenient when a kid has a huge feeling. And so
Super inconvenient.
stuff gets put on that to try to like dampen the feeling down in the kid.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And
For
then
sure.
but then what happens, and we don't mean to do this as parents, and I'm not trying to like judge any parents or judge my own parents in any
Yeah.
way, because I know this was not intentional. I know you were just trying to live your life and like get your shit done. But when those things happened and like all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is not okay. It's not safe. I'm going to get
Uh-huh.
reprimanded. And all of this to like keep you in the like, be an easy kid. Be an easy kid. Don't be so dramatic.
And it's tough. Like when you're in the heat of it, it's really, really hard. I would tell you like, and I'll talk a little bit about this when we talk about twos in this, but sometimes the way that I handle my kids is like very much when I get frustrated with them, it becomes conditional. If you like, I can't believe you're not doing this because this is what I've done for you. Reflecting on it feels so shitty, but like in the moment you're so frustrated.
Right.
You're so frustrated and you can't like separate from the like they're however old. Think about your lens of the world. Like you have no comprehension of money, you have no comprehension of time, you have no comprehension of stress, right?
Right.
So that's when I get like when those feelings get the best of me and I realize that I've parented like conditionally that day, I feel like the worst
Yeah.
when I crawl into bed at night. But it happens, like it does. Nobody's perfect and there's a lot of learning to be done from all of this, but I would say it's a huge part of my work that I still have to work through as like just an individual but also a parent. Like
Yeah.
all of
Well,
it.
yeah. Everybody has the moment they revert, no matter how much healing work you've done. One, you're never done. Two, like
Right.
you always have moments where it just like you become overcome by the whatever the trigger is of the moment.
So sevens, we haven't talked about sevens
Sevens.
yet with positive outlook. So whenever we talk about sevens, I know that we generally speaking romanticize our sevens, but they are the reframer for that positive outlook. So again, through a parenting vein, they might look like the fun parent. They might look like the parent who, when the kid is upset, they're like, "Oh, but look at this thing. Does this make you happy?"
Yeah. Let me distract you with this thing over here. Yes.
Yeah. 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 Keegan was doing it to my youngest like yesterday. Like my youngest was upset and he started like poking his butt out and doing like a silly dance. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "This always helps."
Oh, I am still on the fence about him and his type as he's, getting to that age where it's about to be locked in.
I know. I know. He changes it up on me.
Yeah. Trying to figure out what works best for him in your family.
Lucky for
But
him, depends on the day.
yes, I would say the different sevens and show up in different parts of my life, and they are really good at making the most horrible thing have some sort of positivity to it. Well, like, think about how strong you are from that, or think about like what you learned in that situation. That can come through a lot with sevens. I think sevens can also, they're avoiding their own pain. So like if they're helping you through a conflict, they're going to reframe in that way I just described. If it's their own conflict, they don't love it. They don't love the pain, so they can be avoidant a little bit like nines. But that can also be like they can use that same like, well, we learned from it as a way to like move through it very quickly. If
That
I
makes
if I learn
sense.
something, it's all okay. Great.
It's
Moving
fine.
on. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So that brings us to twos. I talked a little bit about it already, so I won't like over exhaust it, but it shows up in different ways for me. Positive outlook oftentimes works for me. I do use it as a bit of a cue for like, ooh, is this something that I need to pause in because it's a presence thing for me? I'll do the positive outlook thing just to get through it. if it's a moment of, oh, I'm gonna positive my way and reframe through this, like I try to be really aware and take a moment of like, why is this happening? Then I'll verbally digest it with my husband or you. Like, this is what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
It can show up from a parenting perspective. Like, I struggle with setting a clear boundary without tying it to love or affection. I'm working on that with my kids, but even like this weekend when I talked about messes on the last one too. Like I've had a thing about messes lately because they just happen like that. They just happen so quick right now. But it shows up like, you guys, you have all this stuff. When you are done with something, please clean it up. Like, why do I have to tell them they have all this stuff? What's the point?
They don't have a concept.
They don't have a concept that based off of what?
Compared to what?
So, yeah, compared to what? But then on like the worst days, it'll be like some kids don't have any of this.
There are starving children in Africa.
Yes, there are starving children. Like that's I like, so then it's tied to something when it really doesn't have to be, right? And I talked about this on a few different podcasts ago when I was reading that book. What is it? What was it called? Like being disliked, like it's okay to be disliked, something. I don't remember the title of it right now, but it's like everything that a parent does is a reflection of like what they feel society is going to expect of their children, right? Like
Ooh.
when my oldest just got a assessment sent home. They do like regular assessments, see where your kids are at, right? And he is like average. My husband is like, what's this one? Like, why is that so low? And it's like read it. Like he struggles with reading, right? We can help him with reading, but like what's talked about in this book is basically like if you were to explain to him like what those results mean, and then he would ultimately decide if he cares about that or not. That would show up for him like, okay, I'm going to try reading more words, or I'm going to try, like, I want to be better at that. But what happens in society today is we then over adjust and like hyper fixate on that thing. And then before you know it, we're at the dinner table every night at 5:30 crying over reading homework, right? Like, because we should, because that's a reflection of me as a parent,
Right.
because I've raised a child that is average in this thing, right? So we parent to what we feel the societal expectation is of them and us.
There's a lot to unpack in that, which doesn't go with conflict styles, but yeah, I mean, does but doesn't. But man, like if you just think about that from like the way you were raised, and like if you are doing this heavy emotional work for yourself, like what does that mean for you? That's a whole other episode. File that away when we
Right.
need a topic.
My parenting shows up when I am in conflict.
Yeah.
Like it's conditional, and it's conditional based off of what I feel the expectation of me is to be a parent. What I've started doing is like I will question in the moment, like when Keegan is 32 years old, or when he's going to turn 35, the night before he turns 35, when he thinks back on conflict with me, what's he going to think? Was it okay? Was it not okay? Was there space for it? Was there like, so I'm trying to flip it. It's hard, but I'm trying.
Yeah. That in the work there, right? So yeah, there's work there. But in the interest of time, I do want to get to the reactive conflict style. And I think it's always important when I talk about the reactive numbers, which are 4, 6, and 8, that it can mean blowing up. It can mean immediately like a big thing. It can mean that. But it doesn't always mean that. It always means a physical feeling somewhere in your body. And that's the reaction, is it's physical. often when I'm talking with folks, they resonate with things like, oh, they get shaky or really hot or their face turns red or sweaty palms, heart racing, right? But it's a physical thing that happens to them as the reaction to the conflict. And what I've learned recently, and I'm going to start talking about eights and you can talk about it through the lens of like your husband being an eight. But what I've learned recently when I've taught the Enneagram and we've talked conflict styles is what is typical for eights is a physical body reaction. And then they back that up with competency and they turn into the logic bully. And so first they get this feeling and it's like, oh, I have this feeling. And like, here's how I'm going to like spew it out onto the other person.
For sure. I would say that if it's something that can't use logic for whatever reason, it tends to be more withdrawing. But to your point around it being like a body feeling, and shameless plug for Brandon here, but like that gets stored in places. So I believe that my husband as an eight has some of this like locked up everywhere. But it's that, and oftentimes with I can even see a posture change depending like on the level of irritation, right? Like I can see a little posture change. I've seen him fight with his brother before where it's like immediate, like there's not even a posture change and he just like immediately goes into logic.
Yeah,
Probably because he's so practiced in that relationship.
sure. Well, I think that's an interesting thing to like talk about though in the posture change. If you think to being a kid, if you grew up with a reactive parent, you probably knew what the physical thing was that was the like, oh shit, I'm in trouble,
Yeah.
right? To your point, right? Like you learn to watch whatever that body language was of that parent.
Mhm. I would say that my husband, I am proud of him for how this shows up with our kids because it's very much like not how you would think about reactive in the sense of the word with our kids. He is more curious. He wants to understand why. I think there is still an underlying body feeling that he's having that our kids pick up on because it's like so heavy in disappointment. So I think they pick up on that, and it's very heavy disappointment. It's an energy shift regardless. I feel for people who have reactive conflict style because when it happens to me, I hate it. I have to end up like I have to physically move to like get away from whatever the feeling, whatever the ick that I just sat in or created before I can actually have a productive conversation. Otherwise, I will 100% turn into the logic bully very quickly. Like if I sit in that space, I'll immediately posture and my hands are going everywhere.
Yeah.
The hand talking gets it's more arms than hands.
I want to touch on sixes and fours really quick, but then I have a couple other things about the stacking that I think will be important to talk about. But just the six, again, they have that body reaction first, and then often it can feel really defensive. And I work closely with the six, and there can be a little bit like if I bring something up a certain way, they can sometimes the response is immediately a defense of whatever the thing is that I'm calling out with it
Yeah.
for them, right? It's
Yep.
immediately this sort of defensive posture. I'm like, I'm not, I don't need you to defend yourself. I'm just trying to share with you, right? But that can be sort of that first thing that comes up for them. And then in fours, they have the big feelings, but they will often, not unlike eights, I've seen eights express really big. Fours can express really big also, but it's not with the same sort of like driving anger as the eight. I've witnessed it with a four recently where it almost felt a little desperate, right? It was like the expression of it was very big and very dramatic, but it was in this, it was in this very much, I don't know what to do, sort of desperate feeling versus this, like, I'm angry about this. So we've run through all 9 types and their basic styles, a couple of like little things about them. So I want to go back to the stacking thing, which you talked about, like where you're trying to develop competency. I
Yep.
mentioned it with the 8 who jumps to logic bully, but I was recently going through the Enneagram with a group where we talked about conflict style. I'll just speak to it from my lens, but this was confirmed. So I talked about the 8, right? The 8's reactive, then competency. I'm competency first, and I was talking with another 5 in this session, and we were kind of connecting on this, that it's the opposite of that, that it's competency and then reactive for both of us. And so, and it shows up similarly in that I can get into an argument with someone and I don't immediately have like a big feeling about it in the moment. I'm just like, ah, here's all the facts. Thing, 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 thing. And, but then after it's over, because it won't happen in the moment, but after it's over, I will then have all of these feelings of shame and how I should have been kinder, how I didn't say it the way I intended to say it. Like, and it'll be like that heavy, like, it can even turn into anxiety of like a fear of having damaged something to the point that it's not, that it can never be the same. And so I will have, but all of those physical body reactions that go along with things like shame and anxiety come after the conflict is over.
That's interesting. Is it because you're moving through it too quickly? Is it because you feel like you can't stop it
I don't
or slow it
know.
down enough?
I'm not sure because I think in the heat of the moment, and I don't know if other
Sure.
people experience this regardless of the conflict, but like in the heat of the moment, like you're just like pulling from, what you know. And this is, you just mentioned Brandon before, but it goes back to this, he talks a lot about your nervous system and like the thoughts that you have and like what's in your brain is just a record of your past. And when you get triggered by something, your nervous system like brings up like, oh, the last time something like this happened, this is what it felt like, this is what happened, this is whatever. And that creates like the way that you react to conflict. So this is like a whole other
Interesting.
podcast like on its own also, but like if your nervous system is the record of the past, so if you're a
Yep.
reactive number and that
Yep.
reactive is what you have first, your body is sending you signals. That's what those reactions are. And
Yep.
even if you're one of the other two, it's still your nervous system telling you how to avoid the feeling, right? Like
Right.
that, this
Right.
is going to feel bad. So positive outlook numbers,
Yep.
avoid it. This is going to feel
Yep.
bad. So cover it up with logic, right?
Yeah.
So it's still your body sending you signals. But what happens is that I get overrun when I have a chance to like not be in the heat of the moment. I can become overrun with the feelings associated with what happened before. I can
Yeah.
also then, and then we, like we talked about last week with centers of expression, I can also then get in this thinking feeling loop where it's like, this feels really bad. Therefore, thought is, I have damaged this forever and it will never be the same as it was before.
Interesting. So there was a situation that came up last week. Last week. So it's like third week of school, right? And I get the call from the first grade teacher that's like, "Hey, do you have a minute to talk?" And it's like 4:45. I'm like trying to like sprint to like pick up kids and whatever, right? So she's calling to tell me that my oldest is having a really hard time paying attention. This is not new information. He's been in OT forever, right? He's been 3. And my husband has ADHD. It would not surprise me if we get a diagnosis like that later. But the reason I bring it up is because it invoked emotion in me because inherent, like I get this protective feeling because we've done so many things already from a logic perspective to
Right.
like arrive at where we're at today. So to your point of after, my head goes into this like fight or flight kind of speed response with like, here's all the things that I'm going to say in that moment. So I share with her, right? Like, yep, this is not new information. We are not ready to medicate him. Like, here's the things that we do. Here's like, right? And she's like, okay. And she's doing the best she can, right? Like, she's trying to give me all of the information that she feels like she needs to give me, which I really appreciate. In the moment, it felt like she was calling to tell me, have you taken your child to see a doctor? So, like, that like that, like, it felt like I was in a spin cycle of all three conflict styles of like me
Yeah.
wanting to be like, what the hell? Like, who are you to call me? And then the next part of me is like, okay, let's talk about all the things that we've done at this point. And she's like, okay, what questions do you have? I was like, I can't even think of one right now, but I'm sure after I chat with my husband, he will have questions because he like his reactive, right? He's like,
Yeah.
well, what about this? And my response is I call my cousin who also has kids with like some needs, right, in the classroom setting. And I'm like, can you fucking believe? She's like, well, what? She's like, what? She's like, what did she tell you that she's doing or that she's tried? And I'm like, nothing. Amen. I'm pissed. But like I was kind of in that spin cycle until I could like separate again, like separate with some time and distance from the situation. And then I felt a little stupid, right? Because like I should have asked from a competency perspective, what have you tried? Have you put him in a different space in the room? Have you given him a fidget? Have you like what have we tried? Is there a specific time of day that this is a problem? Is it a specific subject that's a problem? Like all of these questions like flew into my mind. But because I was so caught up in the emotion of it, I like I couldn't find competency. My cousin who I called is a 6, by the way. So she's like got all the questions.
What about this? What about that?
She's always good for a little commiserating for me too. She's like, I cannot fucking believe God. Ugh. This poor teacher, she has done, it's like, she's phenomenal. Like, she's done everything great. Like, she's a wonderful human being. And teachers have, like, the hardest job. I, like, I'm so grateful. It's just in the moment, like, the feelings about your own kid
Mhm.
come up and, like, it overcomes any sort of logic that I had in that
Yeah.
moment.
Well, yeah. And anything that could resemble someone judging a parenting style.
Right. Right. Because what it like we have taken like a pretty hard stance on like not being ready to have medication for him, that it felt like you're telling me to take him to the doctor for what? So you can get a second opinion to tell me that I need to medicate him? That's not what she was doing
No.
at all. So
Well,
then
we
I
don't.
felt
Yeah.
awful because then my husband calls her later that night and is asking like a litany of questions, right? She was like, "Oh, this was not my intention." Like, and also, like, I think she could totally sense that this was happening on the phone with me because she's like, "By the way, none of this is behavioral. He is so sweet. Like, he is, like, he doesn't act out. He doesn't, like, none of this is a problem." And in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, because he's been in OT since he's been 3. What do you think I've been doing? Sitting in my goddamn hands?" Like, it's absolutely insane.
From her side too, right? Think about the number of parents she has to
Oh
call.
my God. Like, and listen, like,
Like not to like defend the poor teacher, but I am a
I
little bit
felt
like,
so bad. I felt
yeah.
so bad after because she, like, I was totally giving a vibe of like, I'm upset unintentionally.
But it's helpful to
Even
like
Landon.
talk through all these things and like learn from them, create the
Yeah.
space to understand. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
why learning this
Yeah.
stuff is important. Why we
Right.
love the Enneagram.
Reason number 542.
Yes. Since it's your birthday tomorrow, I'm gonna have all kinds of plans for that now. Now that you brought that back into my
No.
awareness, I would have figured it out when I opened up my other computer and I got the little reminder. But yeah, so happy
Yeah.
birthday.
Thank.
Before we wrap on
Thanks.
this one, I thought I would share, and it's actually a little timely. because we both mentioned Brandon's work, like we do in most podcasts. But if you've made it to the end of this, thank you. We appreciate you. But also, Brandon's coming to town in about a month to do some in-person work. Tana and I are both going to be part of that. If that's something that interests you, you should hit us up. There's a limited number of spots. And I might be saying this out of turn because I don't know how many spots are left, but I think there are a few spots left. So it would be cool
Dang.
if you're interested. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Holly.
Yeah, this was so good.
Yeah. Share, comment, like all the things. We appreciate everyone who listens to our rants and rabbit holes and everything in between. Excited for the next one. And if you want to be a guest, don't hesitate to reach out, DM, or send us an email, comment. We've got a few lined up, so we just need to make the logistics of those work with timing.
Yeah.
But if you want to be a guest, give us a shout.
Yes, of course. Very cool.
Cool.
I'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.